Welcome to Protect and Grow with Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns of TJ Stearns Incorporated. Trust, respect, and results. TJ Stearns Incorporated focuses on comprehensive financial planning and benefits.
And welcome into the program. This is Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland certified financial planning professional resource for your investment, your financial, your retirement decisions to help you along in your progress and process and to uncomplicate the financial world, bring a dose of common sense and maybe some innovative planning strategies that you have not currently implemented that are showing to build for better financial security, stability into the future. He is Tim Stearns, CFP, president and founder of TJ Stearns, Inc. And Tim, always a pleasure to have you along for the ride here on the program.
Peter, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you have compiled a great list of resources, Tim. The Countdown to Retirement set of reports that we have gone over and reviewed individually over the course of this program over the past year. These are fantastic reports. The 7 financial myths, the 5 planning mistakes to avoid. Today, we are going to be talking about one of those reports, but also do want to mention that if you'd like the complete Countdown to Retirement series of reports, ladies and gentlemen, that is available. You are always welcome to be in touch. Just give TJ Stearns Inc. and Tim Stearns CFP a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. But we are going to review specifically, Tim, on this program, the 9 critical risks to plan for a more stable and secure retirement future. So, Tim, just overviewing these risks, there are several of them, 9 included here on the list, but a lot of risks that we do not necessarily encounter during our working career, which is, I think, one of the most important parts of addressing these risks.
Peter, it really just comes down to making sure that you can make that dollar stretch, right? Most of us don't have pensions and that type of thing, that we have a guaranteed income coming in that might have a cost of living adjustment. So when we are done working, whatever we have is it, right? So we need to make sure that we understand what critical risks are out there for our dollars as we decumulate, because accumulation is the easy part. Believe it or not, getting up every day and going to work and putting money into your 401k and having them match it, that's child's play compared to having to decumulate. So, let's get into it. I mean, the number one risk that I talk about in my retirement classes and with my clients is sequence of returns risk. And that's simply retiring into a bear market is what it comes down to. That is horrific what it can do to a portfolio. So we have, different slides and that type of thing during my presentation in class, but that's one of the things we can present people with, just showing a brother and a sister 3 years apart retire and how the brother fared better because he had retired into a bull market versus the sister had retired into a bear market, and what that did to them over 17 years of retirement.
Well, again, this is something that we do not necessarily encounter. And so it is not much discussed during our working years, Tim, which is why you spend a lot of time specifically trying to help inform and educate retirees and pre-retirees about this particular critical risk sequence risk.
Exactly. And I marvel. I did classes a couple of weeks ago in St. Louis for a friend of mine that's working with us. And the classroom in Chicago, it doesn't matter where I do it. People have no idea. It's blank stares when I ask what sequence of returns risk is. And then by the end of it, they're like, wow, that could totally affect us, especially after what happened in 2022 to people's portfolios. These people that are still using asset allocation as their mantra, their strategy, when it's failed them 5 times in the last 22 years, they know exactly what sequence of returns risk, after I explain it, what that does to a portfolio.
Kind of an aha light bulb moment there when they
Absolutely.
Understand what we've seen happen over the course of the last 2 decades plus can actually result in once we are retired. It's like, oh yeah, that was a difficult time that we went through back in the dot-com bubble, back in the Great Recession, back in the early years of COVID, but we made it through, right? Is what most people's mindset is, Tim. However, once we are reliant on that portfolio, that fundamental shift changes to now creating income, it is a completely different set of conditions and circumstances that will have a much more significant impact. And that's why we do need that education ahead of time to understand what that looks like, and then how to plan to avoid it, I think is the most important part of these 9 critical risks, but specifically the sequence risk we're talking about.
Right. I think sequence risk is a huge development to someone if they're in retirement and it's going the wrong way. The next one that we talk a lot about is legislative risk. And the reason why I talk about that is, again, blank stares when I talk about the Secure Act, or if I talk about the Secure Act 2.0. Maybe people have heard about it, but I'd say 9 out of 10 people in my classes are not educated on what that did. So there are risks out there when Congress passes different laws that can affect our retirement. And this sequence of returns risk 2.0 is simply the fact that they, again, are not allowing us to do stretch IRAs. Stretch IRAs enabled us to actually maybe transfer some wealth to our beneficiaries, our heirs, right? And now the rules are such that if you have a Roth or 401k and you are not a spouse, in most cases, that account has to be drained within 10 years. And people marvel at that how did I not hear about it? Well, I'll tell you how. Both the Secure Act and the Secure Act 2.0, they passed in late December, like 29th and the 30th. When you're just getting done with Christmas, they are actually meeting bipartisan. This wasn't one or the other, right? And they passed it. So these are things that you need to talk about with your financial advisor. And if they haven't done that, shame on them to kind of get a plan. And again, I'll harp on that 1 out of 10 Americans don't have a plan. And, our plans are such that they're dynamic so that if something like that happens, we can pivot and make, amends for it and make changes that will make it better.
In the news world, Tim, we call that sweeping it under the rug. When news happens during a period of time where nobody's paying attention, and then you can just move on very quickly. And that's when it does seem like a lot of these bipartisan efforts happen, and when they make the most significant changes to the rules. And when it comes to your retirement, ladies and gentlemen, the rules can change at any time, often with little to no notice, on things such as Social Security, Medicare, taxation, retirement entitlement benefits. And Tim, another big legislative risk here is that in just a few short years, taxation laws and codes are changing. If nothing's done, taxes are essentially going to go up across the board. Now, they can still claim, well, I didn't raise taxes because this is something that was sort of already in place, but it's not just on the ultra wealthy or those making $400,000 or more a year. It is literally our lowest tax brackets will encounter and will have increases in the percentages that we pay on almost every dollar.
Exactly. And taxes haven't been this low since 1945. So if they don't do anything, which it seems to me that in Congress, in Washington, D.C., they can't get out of their own way, I imagine this will sunset at the end of 2025, and then God knows what we'll be left with. And that's another reason that maybe you should be talking to people about Roth conversions. We know what the income tax rates are today versus I have no idea what they'll be after 2025. I will say this, whether I teach classes in St. Louis, Chicagoland, Florida, or Phoenix, everyone says that taxes are going up. So if you are not thinking about Roth conversions or at least exploring it, then I question your decision-making skills at that point. At least uncover that rock and see what's underneath it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, Tim Stearns, CFP, is a resource across the nation for individual planners and for advisors looking to better understand what it takes in this financial environment to help their individual clients achieve optimal results for retirement. But he is a local resource to you, ladies and gentlemen, right here in and around across the Chicagoland area. Office conveniently located in Arlington Heights. And if you would like to set up a time to speak with Tim Stearns, to meet with him, and to get your written Protect and Grow plan in place, simply pick up the phone and give a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. You can also visit online at the website, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com, or you can attend one of those classes that Tim teaches for proactive planners, for retirees, and those planning for a retirement in the near future. And if you would like to attend to learn about sequence risk in more detail, to learn about legislative risk in more detail, to learn all of the 9 critical risks to plan for in retirement, and why specifically you need to address each and every one of them, also why the plan that you have during your working career may not address many of these specific risks, pick up the phone, give a call, find out when those next classes are being held. You can do so right on the website as well, tjstearns.com, or just give a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Tim, the next one on your list, again, something that we don't necessarily encounter during our working career. In fact, we specifically will make every attempt not to, and that's withdrawal rate risk. We're not withdrawing from our retirement accounts during our working career. That's why this is a new risk that we must address.
Well, withdrawal rate risk, again, to your point, you don't encompass that during your working years, right? But in your retirement years, you're a net seller of assets, right? The only growth that you're going to receive from your retirement assets is from the market. You are not putting money in anymore if you are certainly retired, okay? So I ask, what is a safe withdrawal rate? It used to be the 4% rule. I've seen it go a little bit higher than that, but we found that the 4% rule fails 67% of the time. So, and the gentleman who came out with that doesn't even believe in it. Then I saw a report just 3 weeks ago that was done by 2 universities that said the safe withdrawal rate is 1.9%. So if I have $1 million, I can live on $19,000 a year. I sit there and I ask, how can you live in Chicagoland on that amount? So how do you do that? Well, you get an income allocation plan and you figure out exactly what you need to take out and how you're going to get there. I will tell you, in the year of 2022, many people were very skittish calling into us because they didn't have a plan. They're kind of winging it. And I think that that's something to be said about our society, is that we're just trying to figure a way. Well, why not get educated or come and see us or give us a call? We can do a Zoom, what have you. But, we don't bite over here. We're just going to try to give information to people. And the classes are excellent because it's all about information. It's not an annuity dinner. It's not, us trying to sell any products. We don't speak about companies by name. We just encompass what it is to get into an ideal retirement and then make the attempt at doing that.
I think this is one of the big questions, though, of how much income can I generate? Not the first year, not the first decade, but all the way through retirement. Right. How much can I take now and make sure that that is sustainable? And that's where withdrawal rate risk really plays out, ladies and gentlemen, is sure, you could take a 15 or a 20% cash flow in your first few years of retirement, but is that realistic? Is that sustainable? No, we've got to find that income sweet spot that will allow us to live the life that we want to live, but also maintain that ability through the decades to come in retirement. And Tim, with the strategies and the planning that you put together with that specific written protect and grow plan, you really drill down on what that number is and begin to plan around it, and then work to maximize and optimize it. And there are specific ways and strategies that we can generate more income and make it more durable and dependable. That's really what the protect and grow plan, I think, when you get down to it, where the rubber meets the road, that's the value of having that, is the confidence in the ability to produce that livable income.
What is your safe withdrawal rate? And you ask 90% of retirees, they have no idea what the answer is on that. And people who are about to retire, I have a gentleman who's about to retire in 4 years, and he said literally it keeps him up at night. Like, does he have enough? And he's very successful. He's got 2 businesses going, makes over $500,000 a year, and he's concerned about it. So if you're making less than him, then I think you should be concerned too. Give us a call. Let's see what your safe withdrawal rate would be.
Again, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, or you can go online, tjstearns.com. Just click the connect button and you can start a conversation with the team there at TJ Stearns. And with Tim Stearns' CFP guide in the way, you can craft that protect and grow specific written retirement plan. It is custom. It is unique, individual to your situation with your goals, your specifics taken into account. So again, 800-640-2256, the number to call. Tim, next on the list here of these 9 critical risks to plan for, it is the big one. It's kind of the elephant in the room, I think, that we all understand is such a risk, but don't want to address, but we really need to in order to have retirement confidence. And that is healthcare costs and long-term care.
Well, let's see. Your number one bill in retirement for most of us is what? Taxes, right? Your second bill is for sure going to be healthcare costs. The average 65-year-old couple will spend about $300,000 on healthcare costs, and that's going to vary. And I hope it's on the lower end for everybody out there. But if it's not, what does it look like? That is why I'm happy to say that we're Medicare certified here. If people need help with something like that, we are happy to do it. You need to, show people what they're going to be paying in healthcare costs. The other thing is, a lot of people think somehow Medicare helps you out with long-term care. That's not a thing, not at all. They're thinking of Medicaid, which in most cases you have to have less than $2,000 in Illinois to have that, to get Medicaid. And most of those places that offer Medicaid are not very nice places. So the other elephant in the room is, besides healthcare costs and medical costs, is long-term care. And 7 out of 10 of us over the age of 60 will need it. 9 out of 10 of us haven't addressed it. And, I understand a lot of baby boomers out there are very skittish about standalone long-term care. Well, the good news is most of those companies aren't doing that anymore. Now there's actually a bang for your buck. Standalones were, the examples we see in class when people talk to me, they'll say, hey, my dad died of a heart attack. He never used his long-term care, but he paid into it for 25 years. My mom, knock on wood, has not used any of it. And I asked them, name a time in your life, Peter, that you've been happy that you used your insurance, right? You have health insurance, means you're sick. You have car insurance, means you got in a car accident. A total loss in your house, you're using your house insurance. But people don't have long-term care insurance. There are hybrids out there, hybrids that have cash value. They have long-term care component to it, and they also have a death benefit that will, again, help with the Secure Act problem. So there's a lot of different bullets in the gun there that will help you solve the different problems of not having long-term care by, not being a burden on your family. I had a 58-year-old in here the other day with her husband. She's had Alzheimer's for 8 years, so it strikes everywhere. And my point is, a 58-year-old, if you can get in to see us and talk to us about the different hybrids, they'll make you feel better about what is out there. The bang for your buck is there. And the idea of just being covered when you know that 7 out of 10 of us are going to need it.
Next on the list here, Tim, spousal income. And this is something that on the surface level, we look at trying to maximize our income, but by doing so, in the early years of retirement, we might in fact be decreasing our income for our spouse should they outlive us. And typically one of two does outlive the other pretty significantly. We don't want to put that income in jeopardy, being short-sighted in the early years of retirement, making some lifelong and permanent decisions.
Well, and I think you're talking about, when do you turn on your Social Security, right? We have people come into class. They have people come into the office who are thinking this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, most of them haven't done a Social Security optimization report. There is a very basic one on SSA.gov, the Social Security website. Very basic. We can actually run a custom strategy to show people when you might get into the pocket of the federal government, which I think everyone would like to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So you taking it early can affect your spouse. If they pass, a lot of people think that, if they pass, they don't realize that one of those spousal incomes goes away. So the higher of the two stays, thank God, but the lower of the two goes away. Pensions are much the same. My father passed away 10 years ago, and my mom got half of his railroad pension. She knew that was coming, if God forbid, right? But a lot of people don't understand that. And so these are things that we need to, when you do an income allocation plan, you can talk about this and talk about the 800-pound gorillas that are all over the room in retirement to get to that ideal retirement.
Again, if you would like this list of the 9 critical risks to plan for, as well as the compilation of the complete countdown to retirement reports, these address issues that are critical for retirement security, stability, and confidence, pick up the phone, give Tim Stearns a call. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 4 left on our 9 critical risks to address, Tim. And market volatility, a big one. I think we're all aware after a year like 2022.
I think that goes without saying. I know a lot of people are coming in more and more to talk to us about their portfolios because the 13-year bull market went away. And what is the Fed talking about? That we're still churning out numbers that they're not real happy with, that inflation is still there. For example, inflation moved down from 6.41 to 6.40. So they are concerned, and they say that they're going to keep raising interest rates. What does raising interest rates do to the market? 9 times out of 10 in the history of the market is very volatile, right? And we have problems with, portfolios going down. NASDAQ lost almost 30% last year. If you are in retirement and you're not in accumulation phase anymore, you need to be very cognizant of what the markets are doing. You need to be active. You need to be strategic and tactical, have stop losses, at least give yourself a fighting chance by doing that. And I hone in on that all the time in class to explain to people, it's not your grandfather's stock market anymore. The market went up for, 100 years until 1999. And now we've dealt with this, 2 steps up, 1 step back, 3 steps back, 1 step up. We need to get smarter, and it's a different world, and we need to be cognizant of that.
We talked about legislative risk at a high level, Tim, but taxation, the next one on your list, because even if the rules don't change, for the majority of Americans, the majority of their dollars are yet to be taxed. You talked about the fact that it's probably our largest known expense in retirement. You mentioned that a little earlier. Taxes. We've got to have a plan that specifically addresses and, to what extent possible, helps us control and minimize our tax liability. Peter,
that's a great point. We talked about earlier, the number one bill you're going to have in retirement is your taxation. We have been taught, since I was a little kid, that my mom and dad would tell you, put away that money, get the match from your company. I agree with all that. But unfortunately, what we didn't talk about is that you're going to kick the can down the road where you're going to be paying for taxes. And we all just talked about in classes on the radio that taxes are going to go up. So we need to be a little more, when you're doing a plan, you need to take into effect what taxes will do to you. We always ask people, what do you need to live on? Well, after we do their budget and that type of thing, let's say they say 100,000. Now I have to ask them, is that net or gross? And they'll be like, what do you mean? Well, it's coming from your retirement. It's never been taxed. So if it's coming from a 401k, a 403b, you get my point. We need to take that into effect. And our income allocation plan does that.
That's more like 70,000 to live off of, or give or take. So it's a big difference. That tax bill and the IRS's hand stands in the way. They're going to want to collect from those dollars that have never been taxed. That's why it is a critical risk that you must address and plan for, better understand how you can control. That's what the Protect and Grow plan can help you better understand and to identify the strategies to reduce, minimize, or eliminate unnecessary taxation. There are ways to do that, ladies and gentlemen, and especially for those who have saved up significant dollars in tax deferred accounts. The more you have there, the costlier a mistake it is to overlook this critical risk. So by nature of just the volume of dollars and our progressive tax system, that means higher tax bills. So let's make sure to address this one, ladies and gentlemen. Pick up the phone, get a copy of this report, the 9 critical risks to address, but also your specific Protect and Grow plan will help you address taxation throughout your retirement. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. 2 more on the list here, Tim. One, we have certainly seen our fair share of over the past couple years, inflation.
Yes, let's talk about eggs. That's what my mother is my 93-year-old mother is very concerned about, the cost of eggs. So just being tongue in cheek here, but I mean, inflation has definitely affected a lot of us.
But it's the everyday things, right? They are going up significantly. So even if we are maybe doing less through some of the retirement years and phases, the things that we are still doing, the everyday things, are costing more and more. A particular risk specifically impactful for retirees. Once we are in retirement, this risk is a real one. Along with the last one on the list, Tim, longevity. It's something that we hope for, but it's a critical risk that we must address.
Well, it's a great Tom Hegna that we've had on the show quite a bit has said longevity risk is the #1 killer of a successful retirement. And what he's saying is that we are living longer and longer, thank the Lord, but a lot of us are living longer and longer without pensions. And with that comes risk of running out of money. So I ask people, how are you going to overcome longevity risk? It's simple. You need to have a plan, to make sure that if you live too long, you don't bounce checks. And as my dad used to say, bounce my last check, right? I mean, basically, we're looking at the fact that people are living longer, and they're living longer with sometimes a malady from a medical situation that they would have died from. And now we're seeing that they have more costs in healthcare costs. So how do you account for this? We need to check out the ability to have the income allocation plan that addresses longevity risk.
Yeah, I've heard that statement, and I equate that to, well, I found it in the last place I looked. Of course we did, because it was the last place we looked. We wouldn't keep looking, but I hear that. My own father has said that I want to bounce my last check. And I said, just make sure it's the last check you need to write, because you could continue needing to write checks and not being able to if you bounce your last one. So that is what the Protect and Grow plan specifically helps us to address, ladies and gentlemen. All of these 9 critical risks are compounded by the last one, longevity. So you need to have a specific plan to address each and every one, and to be able to do so for the duration of your lifetime, however long that might be. That is what the Protect and Grow plan is all about. Pick up the phone, give Tim Stearns a call if you'd like to put that together. 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. If you'd like this report on the 9 critical risks to address. Again, Tim does make that available to you, as well as the comprehensive Countdown to Retirement series of reports. You are welcome to call and request that. 800-640-2256, or go online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Just click on the connect button and you can request it there easily online for a free download, and for that complimentary review time, that strategy session for the written Protect and Grow plan, right there at tjstearns.com, or by calling 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Tim, Tim, time always moves by very quickly here on the program, as it does in life, which is why we encourage people not to procrastinate on these things. It is important to get a handle on them, to get a jump, and to have them in place, the strategies that will help us along in our financial progress, regardless of what economic conditions may bring here into and throughout the year ahead. And we always appreciate your guidance on helping proactive planners, savers, and investors across Chicagoland make that happen.
It's my pleasure, Peter. Have a great day.
Tune into Chicagoland Certified Financial Planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Securities offered through TJ Stearns, a registered representative of Crown Capital Securities LP, member FINRA SIPC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.